Hello, here I am again, and in today's video I hope to expand a little bit on what it is I mean whenever I excuse me, whenever I describe dice influence, or as some people call dice control, in order to help clarify exactly what my little experiment is going to try to accomplish. In my last video, I was in my garage, in my little work area where I put the practice rig together. Today I'm in a spare bedroom where I hope to actually do some of the practicing. This was where I was going to put my original rig up in here, but seeing as my recent career change has now required me to be on the road a significant more amount of time than I would have been at home. Now working with a more mobile, portable design. Something a little more traditional than based on what I've seen online as far as what people have used for their practice rigs. I hope to still accomplish the same ultimate goal of replicating a traditional, typical casino used craps table as closely as I can while still maintaining portability. It's sitting on sitting on a folding table, as you can see here, and the Amazon packages you see right there are actually of a couple of sticks of dice that I got. I am specifically waiting until making this video, or sorry, what I should say, I was waiting to make this video until these packages came in. I'm gonna set you right there. You're actually inside the practice rig right now, leaning. But I wanted to wait until I got these packages so that I could open them in front of you here. You'll just please forgive, first of all, the crudity of this video. I didn't have time to build it to scale or to paint it. Sorry. It's not meant for actual production value. It's not meant to look flashy or sound wonderful, which is why you hear this horrible echo right now. Instead, it's meant simply to provide data, information for you to be able to utilize in the future. So what we have here are two unopened sticks of dice, one red, one green. They are, as you will see here, serialized. Oops, sorry. They're serialized dice. Well, I guess so. What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and I'll open the red one here. Let me see if I can do that to help with display purposes. It is a brand new, unused stick of dice. Now, I don't plan on throwing any dice today. I don't plan on using a brand new stick of dice every time I make a video. I'm sorry. I just do not have the feasibility for obtaining sticks of dice every time I make a video, nor the money. These things are about 13 to 15 bucks a pop, the sticks are. So anyway, here they are. As you can plainly see, they are in fact serialized. The 737 is the serial number on the red. On the green, we have what I can do is, for future reference, I can always show the serial number on them whenever I actually throw the dice. There you go. Okay, I guess it's It's 689, as you can see here. Oh, sorry. Oops, excuse me. There we go. 689. Well, where the problem came in is that it's with the 6 and a 9, which way's up, which way's down, and the 8 is fortunately not completely symmetric, as you can see. I hope. Try to get a good angle here. The top part of the 8 is a little smaller than the bottom part, which is how I figure which way is up and which way is down on the serial number. Anyway, so here are the 2 sets of dice that I will at least use for the time being until I require newer dice. Sorry, I'm trying to fold this over. I know you can't see. All you can see is my hand in the way. I'm trying to fold this over so I can get both in at the same time. Let me see. I hope you can see that well enough. So that's what I have set here. I got red and green because this will help determine when I threw my dice which one, or which, if presuming only one goes not according to plan, we can determine which one it is, the red or the green. That now goes into what I hope to elaborate on in this video. Let me get these out of the way. Now, now let's leave it like that here. In dice influencing, or dice control, we'll just call it dice influencing for now. That seems to be the more accepted term. the more generally PC term, I don't know what that, anyway. When it comes to dice throwing and dice influencing, the idea is that when you throw dice at a casino table, you are either increasing or decreasing the chance of certain numbers coming up on your roll. Most people seem to use dice influence in order to determine the frequency of the number 7 appearing, increasing it when it's convenient, decreasing the occurrence when it's inconvenient. There are a couple of different schools on how to accomplish that. One school is what's called dice setting. That is, if I can show this properly, that is to set the dice in a certain configuration, depending on what you want. And once it's set in a certain way, certain configuration, throwing them across the table. That's it. You just set the dice a certain way and you throw it. That is from what I've been able to find, that's a minority group of dice influencers. Most of them don't actually believe in strictly dice setting. They believe in a series of steps, dice setting being one of them, but not only what you need to do. A lot of them, or the most accepted method, which is the way I'm going to try to follow, does incorporate dice setting. You do set it, but it also incorporates the grip, the way you grab onto the dice, the way you hold them, the strength and the mechanics of your arm, wrist, and fingers as you throw, the intended landing area, which some people will give anywhere between 3 to 6 inches away from the rubber pyramid backing, and also the way that they land. The way that they land comes into play. Let me remove that out of the way. The way that they land comes into play because the theory, I guess you could say, is that when the dice are flying through the air, they are spinning. The spin is determined by what I was mentioning before with the arm, throw, the wrist, the fingers, all that. The goal is to get them to land flat on the table. When they're coming down, have them land flat. Of course, they're spinning at the time. So this is why it's not something everyone can do. If you can manage to get it to spin and land flat on the table on a consistent basis, that takes talent and skill. But when they land flat, the idea is that they expend the kinetic energy from the dice down into the table. As such, when they bounce off the table, they don't bounce off with a whole lot of energy. They bounce off with only a little. So they bounce, tap the wall, and then fall. That's the idea. Instead of bouncing off the wall and then rolling all the way down the table, cattywampus in the old direction they want. By getting the dice to tap the wall and simply fall down when they are spinning a certain direction, facing a certain configuration, you can, in theory, set your dice originally so that the number of combinations of certain desired numbers are increased in likeliness. There are 6 combinations that can possibly make up a 7. So if you can line up your dice right, get them to spin right, land right, everything right, the chances of them rolling off the wall into a 7 decrease or increase depending on your setup and everything. I think you get the idea. So, just to kind of elaborate a little bit, when you have your dice set with ones facing up and like the twos facing you, much like that, you have a certain possible set of combinations. Presuming they stay at this particular configuration after spinning, tapping the table, and bouncing, it could be a 3, a 7, a 5, a 2, a 4, a 6, a 7, a 3. I think you get the idea. All the different possible combinations of these 4 sides on each die. A total of, 4 times 4, 16. So instead of 36 combinations, you've reduced it down to 16. And depending on how you configure your dice will determine, out of those 16, which combination is the one that you want most to appear. That's the theory, that's the idea, so on. So, that's what I'm going to base it on. Now, personally, in my experiment, I don't give 2/5 of a half-eaten donut. Which one comes up more often than the other, per se? Perhaps the 7, since the 7 is the one that's most focused on during dice influence, either by desiring it to happen more frequently than random or less frequently than random. Many other dice influencers try to target which numbers come up more often with their particular throwing style so that they can make place and buy bets accordingly. I'm not going to go into that. Most dice influencing tends to focus around the frequency of the number 7, since the 7 is the most likely number to roll out of 36 combinations, and of course, the number most focused on in any dice game, in any craps game. So they tend to focus around how often the sevens come up in your throwing versus random. Do they happen less frequently, more frequently, so on and so on. I think I will probably stick with this particular combination that I showed you earlier. One's facing up, two facing me when I throw. It's a plain baseline, but that's the way I will attempt to throw my dice. And that's essentially what I understand dice influencing to be based on my research and Google foo, I guess you could say, that I've done on it. There are several individuals that teach the concept, the mechanics and so on for free. Some that teach it for a fee. I have been looking into what the mechanics are from one individual who does it for free. He's popular on YouTube. I will go into those mechanics when the time comes to throw. I can show you, or maybe in the next video, one way or the other, I'll show exactly how I plan on holding it, how I plan on throwing, so on and so on. Recording the rolls and everything. But I will quite possibly go ahead and also attempt to purchase the skill set being taught by one of the individuals who sells it. That way I can try to see if there is really any difference between them. I can see whether or not the influence of one changes the results more than the other. I don't know how to accomplish that, since I can't undo the influence of any particular type, whether it be the free or the for a price version. If there are any suggestions on how to handle that, I mean, I guess I could throw for a week or 2 weeks on the free version, based on the skills taught from the free version, and then go further on from there afterwards with the ones that you have to pay for, or maybe longer. I don't know. I'm trying to do this for the benefit of everyone else. I don't know which will provide more of a benefit in the raw data that is produced from this. So, but anyway, point being, that's the equipment that I'm working with. That's what I will be, it's what I'm going to use throughout my experiments. I do intend to design and build a better practice rig than this for travel. This is Mark 1. This is proof of concept prototype, as it were. At least I know the way I have it set up does work. The magnets do keep it reasonably together. It's not wonderful. The magnets I chose were not as strong as I had hoped or would like. So in my next build, I will try to get stronger magnets. I imagine that would mean larger magnets, but they have to be within size so that when the magnets are embedded in the wood, like over here, that the wood will remain flush, as opposed to the magnets touching each other and the wood being separated. It shouldn't be tapping the sides anyway. That brings up a point. This playing surface is only so long, because if I'm throwing from a certain distance, like all the way over here, and I throw the dice, if I don't expel enough energy onto the playing surface and it ends up rolling this way, every proper dice influence school of thought that I have seen pretty much says that that roll is not ruined, but so decreased in likeliness to be feasibly usable under the dice influence idea, as opposed to, in other words, chances are it's going to be random, is what I mean. If it goes that stinking far down the table, most likely it's a random roll. So dice influence be damned at that point. So that's why I didn't build it any longer. If it comes off the edge of the playing surface, it's a negated throw anyway. Now, if it hits the sides, either the left or right side, same thing. When throwing dice for dice influence, of course, those tables will be, of course, a lot longer, and they'll have curved insides. You don't want to hit the curve. You don't want to hit the sides. You only want to tap the back. One other obstacle is if you're doing this right and you're winning money, chances are other people at the table are winning money too, because they're betting on you. Most of them bet on you than against you. Under that theory, the more you play, the more chips you're going to have from other players stacked on the table. Those chips become obstacles for the dice. So now it is your job to dodge the chips. You can probably ask them, hey, you mind shoving them out of the way? I'm trying to shoot the dice there. It is not the best etiquette, generally speaking, not the best craps table etiquette to ask players to move their chips. It's unfortunately more expected of you as a dice thrower to dodge them. No one's going to give you the stink eye necessarily. Maybe the dealers might, I don't know. But most players, if you're making them money, they'll do anything you damn well want. Just make them more money. So I'll do the hokey pokey if it means you rolling the right numbers. So it's up to you as a player whether you want to ask them to move the chips out of the way. You get someone who wants to be a butthead about it. Now you got to dodge their chips. So it's just best to practice dodging their chips. Yeah, but that's something that's supposedly a concern for the successful dice influencer. The things that I will have to keep in mind should this experiment prove to display an actual tendency to improve the potential influence of dice throws. I don't know how else to word it. Personally, I don't remember if I said this in the last video. I do not care one way or the other. I have no skin in the game as to whether or not the results end in either confirming or disproving dice influence. Most dice influencers that I've been able to look up said that you should at least see a change in roughly 3 to 6 months, if even slightly. To get really good will take over a year of just about daily practice. I don't know how many of you are going to want to watch these damn videos for over a year. So I'll probably end up just making the data, the rolls themselves, available and like on a spreadsheet aside, so you can just utilize that without watching these videos. However, I still will make the videos available for validation and verification purposes. There will be no entertainment. That's all there is to it. There'll be no entertainment in watching me throw the damn dice and watching the results. Don't know what to tell you. You can thank the internet and their copyright rules for me not being able to play music, so on, so on, and so on. So, If there are any questions, there are any concerns before I get started with all of this, I welcome them. I'm not saying that I'm going to necessarily pay attention to the trolls, but if you have anything constructive to make sure that my produced data is something that people will, the general public will accept, as opposed to saying, you just wasted 6 months because you didn't do A, B, and or C in either your preparation or your execution. Please, I welcome that so that I can do this right. I want to do it right as I can the first time. So thank you much. Have a good one.